Hello, hello, hello. Oh my goodness, it's January 2026 as we speak, and it's the middle of January already, and I have not put a video out since early December because I've been sick. So I'm sorry about that. I had great plans for what we were doing in December, and that just didn't happen. So now we're going to do a Christmas tree. Even though it's January, we are doing a Christmas tree, and we're doing what I call a fantasy Christmas tree. This is what we're doing. A fantasy Christmas tree. I've made three of them. They all look a little bit different. This one looks like it has strings of lights on it. And so I'm sorry we didn't get to do this in December, but I don't care, it's January. We're doing it anyway. I might actually do one more Christmas one in January. In February, I'm going to do something really fun and simple. I got lots of wonderful comments back from you folks about the snowman head and then the snowman that I did in December. And so I think we're going to do something similar to that for Valentine's Day. But in the meantime, we're doing this fantasy Christmas tree. For those of you who have had some painting experience and you're thinking, oh, these things she's doing are just too simple for me, well, today we're changing all that. And for those of you who feel like you don't have enough experience, this is kind of hard for you, this will be a challenge. Because there's no line drawing, it's just all freehand. And we'll talk about that in a minute and how to go about doing that. But in the meantime, I'm going to give you an opportunity to learn 4 new things that'll kind of broaden your horizon. One is using masking fluid. Masking fluid is like a silicone thing that you can paint on paper. Once it's dry, you can go ahead and paint your painting. And of course, the paint won't go where the silicone has been put on, and then you can rub it off. And an example, if you can see this, well, here's a really great example. Okay, this had masking fluid put on. Can you see where it looks like there's ornaments hanging, the little circles? That was from masking fluid. I put the masking fluid on, just rubbed it off this morning, and it kind of looks like there's ornaments hanging on your tree. I did use masking fluid on this one also, but not quite as strong. Just kind of put it here and there. But masking fluid is interesting. I'm going to show you how to use it. It's not expensive. Masking fluid, I got some prices for you today. The masking fluid is $9.99, and this is kind of a larger bottle. I would not suggest buying this size bottle. I would buy the smallest bottle you can get. This one is about half the size. And the reason I'm telling you that is that masking fluid goes bad. And I think it goes bad quickly, especially if you keep it in a window. Keep it someplace out of the light. And what will happen is you'll open up your masking fluid. It's not looking too bad right now, but what will happen when you open your masking fluid sometimes, I'm sorry for my raspy voice, this is what you're going to get, is that you'll get this gunk, long stringy gunk, that looks like this. And last time I opened up this masking fluid bottle, it was like a bunch of crud on the top of it. Just take it all out and throw it away, shake it up, and you can keep using it, but it'll do that. It'll separate and it'll go bad. So you want to buy the smallest size of this you can get. Now they do have some that have a little point on them, and you can just turn the top over and dab your masking fluid on. On this kind, you're going to have to use a brush. So the nice thing is you can just dab it. The bad thing about it is the ones that come with a little tiny opening so you can just do dots of masking fluid, it congeals inside that point. And sometimes I can get it cleaned out enough to use it in the future. Sometimes I just throw it away. So I prefer to use the brush just because of that reason. So we're going to do that today. We're also going to use Winsor Newton's Gold Ink. And this is not expensive, you would think it would be. It's $11.49. It'll last you forever. I've had this, and it's an unusual bottle, isn't it? I mean, you're not going to miss seeing this if you're looking for it on Amazon or wherever you get your stuff. But it's wonderful. It's just a regular gold ink. You have to be careful how you use it because it's not a watercolor. It's an ink. So that when you put it on something, it's completely opaque. You're not going to put paint on top of it. This is like the last thing you do on a painting that's not going to be touched. But it is so awesome. And if you don't have that, you can always use any of the metallic paints you happen to have. And if you don't have that, use yellow out of your box. But I'm telling you, it's going to look so much cooler if you use the gold ink. The third thing we're going to talk about using today, and that's our mini misters. I think I might have mentioned this once a long time ago. Mini misters are very inexpensive. You can get a set of 4 of these for $6. And they have a super fine spray. And when you're spraying your painting, once you have paint down on your paper, you don't want to use a Windex bottle. You don't want to use any sprayer that is going to spray heavily. You want a very fine mister. So these mini misters, I think you can buy them at Walmart. I think in the travel section I saw one day, they have little travel size soaps and things. I think they had these in there. And the last thing we're going to do today is this. Look at that crazy thing. We're going to do bokeh. Now bokeh, I have bokeh on one of my paintings. Bokeh is a technique that you use that looks like a picture, a photograph that's out of focus, or like the sunlit hit part of the camera lens, and so it made this round circle of black on it. See, this has bokeh on it. Let me show you an example. I'll point right to it. See that circle there? There's bokeh. There's several little circles of bokeh. I like to use bokeh because it adds a fantasy look to pictures that you want to have look like fantasy. So we're going to learn how to do that today. So we're going to learn all kinds of new things. You don't have to use any of them, but they will really make your painting look more interesting, and I think you'll enjoy it. So let's get started. Let me just go. Okay, here we go. So we've got our paintings. I do want you to look at these 3 different paintings a little closer to see all the different things you can do. I painted, as you see, 3 different ones. They're all very different, and I have a favorite. My favorite is this one. And the reason I like this one the best is there's a lot of white paper showing through. So then you have depth. You can see through your tree. I like the fact that it's more delicate. The others are more heavy-handed. I like the delicate look, and maybe you prefer to have a more heavy-handed look. I like the fact that the shadow is under the tree is small and kind of also holy. You can see through the paper. It's not heavy-duty. If you look at this one, this tree is fine. I like the Christmas ornament effect that we got by using the masking fluid. I think that the darkness of the shadow of the tree is too heavy. I don't care for that. This is my own personal opinion about my own work. I just think it's a little too heavy. I do like how the colors blended. The colors did a really great job of blending, and I think that the splattering that I did on here came out nicely. This one is the most fantasy looking one to me because it's the one that has the least normal shape for the tree. It kind of goes down and then out, and it kind of comes out an odd way on this side. So I do like this one, and I like the shadow. I use dark blue instead of purple for this shadow, and I have the bokeh on it. So let's get started. You'll notice that when I emailed your things to you, you did not have a line drawing. There's no line drawing for this painting. So just take your 5x7 card, and this is going to scare some of you because you want to have, like the snowman last month, you want to have something you just kind of paint inside the lines. And this is not that. So come down from the top. Just about 1.5 inches or so. Make a little mark. I'm going to make it dark. You're going to make it light on your card because you don't want to have all these lines of pencils showing through your painting. I'm doing it dark so you can see it on the camera. I'm going to do another one down a little bit higher up at the base. So I'm about, looks like a little under 2, but maybe close to 2 inches here, about 1.5 inches there. And then I'm going to put the shape of my tree in. Please excuse my coughing. This is the way it's going to have to be. Be careful when you make your lines for your tree, and I'll tell you why. The tendency is to draw them something like this. I'm just going to lay my brushes here, because you say, well, there's a Christmas tree shape. The problem is this tree is going to grow outwards as we paint. So if you make it too big, you're going to have like a square-looking tree. So I want you to make these lines quite narrow. See how narrow that is? I'm going to make this one about like so, and about like so. You know, so I really have a lot of space out here to work with. The next thing that's kind of nice about this painting is you're only going to use 2 brushes. In fact, you can just use 1 brush. This is my Raphael number 3. You can use that one. Anything that's about that size. This brush is the Raphael number 6. It's bigger. You could use either one of these would be fine. Anyone that's about that size. This is my crazy brush. Remember when I did my video on different kinds of brushes, I showed you what I called my octopus brush. Or crazy brush. What I did is I took an old brush I didn't care about that was like, I don't know where I got it, probably at a garage sale. And I used the masking fluid, because it's silicone, and I mushed it all in here, and I twisted it all around and made it all kind of crazy, and then I let it dry. So this is a really interesting, weird brush. You can do it with any brush you want. If you don't have a crazy brush, just use your regular brush. But I'll show you why I like a crazy brush and why I think it's worthwhile having one. So to start, we've got our shape. You notice I did it really kind of crazy. I didn't even make sure my lines were straight. It doesn't matter. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to put on the masking fluid. Now, when you use masking fluid, you want to take an old brush you don't care about to use it because it is silicone and it can ruin your brush. I'm going to use this brush. This is an older brush I have I don't care much about, but let me show you how you can use masking fluid without ruining your brush. You want to take bar soap. I have these bars of soap from motels, I've gotten over the years. I'm going to use my mini mister. It's my first use today of my mini mister. Spray a bunch of water. I like this one little bar of soap because it has an indentation in the center so the water can just sit there. And I'm going to really mush this around in the soap. You want to cover your paintbrush with soap, just hand soap, whatever, bath soap, a bar of bath soap. You want to keep it nice and really move it so it's bubbly. You want to really coat that brush so that when you put it into the silicone won't stick to the brush. The soap will stop it from sticking. I'm going to dip my masking fluid back and forth a couple times. Whoops. I just spilled it on my table. I wasn't looking where I was going. It won't hurt anything. It'll come off later. Okay, I'm going to dip it into the silicone. And I'm going to put, just like I was doing Christmas ornaments. I'm messy today. Must be from being sick. I'm going to dab this like da-da-da-da-da, back and forth, like, in a curvy feeling like you would if you saw Christmas lights on a tree. Go this way, and I'm going to go outside my lines because your tree is going to be bigger than these lines. Put some at the base too. Okay, now I'm going to wash my brush big time. Really swish it around because you want to make sure all the soap is off and all the silicone is off. And then you can go ahead and use it. But I would use the same brush every time for your masking fluid because it will eventually erode your brush. All right, so now, goodness, I don't know what happened here. My bottle is acting weird. It's like it has a mind of its own. So now, the next thing you do, once you get your silicone on there, your masking fluid on there, is let it dry. And it's got to dry completely. So I'm turning off my camera. I'm going to let it sit here for a while until it's dry. I just go away and go wash the dishes or do something. It'll take you a good 15 minutes. And if you put really big blobs on, it will take longer to dry than if you put little tiny dots on. So I'm going to go away and let my silicone dry, let my masking fluid dry, and then I'll be back. Okay, we're back. I got my masking fluid dry. You'll notice it looks yellow now. After it dries, it kind of yellows as it dries. That's just fine. It's supposed to do that. So now we're going to start painting. I've got 3 colors only for this painting. I've got kind of a bluish green. It's called Viridian. V-E-R-I-D. Let's see. V-E-R-I-D-I-A-N. Viridian Hue. It's by, I think this is the one I got over at, what do you call it? Master's Touch over at over at Hobby Lobby. But any greeny blue will do. If you haven't got a green blue, then take some blue and some green and mix it together. Make a greeny blue. You could use sap green. We've used sap green a lot of times, but I think of a Christmas tree as being much more rich, dark looking, and not so sap colored. I think of sap green as being something we would use, say, in a spring tree where the flowers just leafed out. So I've got the blue green, and then I've got a regular blue, my ultramarine blue, and then I've got a lemon yellow, and that's it. Those are the three colors. We will be using a little bit of purple. I will be using a little bit of purple on this later. Any purple will do. But let's start with our simple little brushes. I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use my number 6, Raphael 6. Get my brush wet. Let's just nudge it into the greenish blue. And there we have it. Now, I should mention before we start this also, that instead of a line drawing, I attached to your email this Christmas tree steps of how to paint this tree. And I'm going to walk down those steps with you today, because if you're like me, after you've painted something and you go away for 2 weeks, you come back and think to yourself, how did I do that? I can't remember how I did that. I do that all the time. Like, oh, I love how that came out. I have no clue how I did it. So number 1, sketch the tree shape, long triangle. Dab on the masking fluid in back and forth pattern. Octopus brush or a crazy brush. Dab the tree shape. So I've got my regular brush and I've got my octopus brush, both. And I'm going to show you how they're different if you decide to use the octopus brush. I would start at the top and I'm going to dab it literally like that. Now see that crazy, see how crazy it looks? But that's what I want. And I'm going to do it outside my line. My line is here. I'm going to make it go outside my line. All right? That's it. Here's my crazy brush. What I love about the crazy brush is it puts things in all kinds of crazy places. I mean, look at that. You would never be able to do that with a regular brush, right? And that just like kind of puts little tiny bits of paint all over. This is the basis of your tree right there. Now I'm going to take my regular brush and I'm going to kind of draw out the paint that I just put on there. But before I do that, I put on my list of instructions, fine mist spray. Now, when you do this fine mist spray, do not hold it close. Hold it way about 8 inches away and just finely mist what you just put on there. And you'll see right away what we all know happens when you make the paint wet. It's going to run, and that's what you want. You want it to run. Now, I don't want it to run so far over this way, so I'm going to take my Kleenex, just dab it up. So I'm taking my brush now that I have the fine mist spray, that's step number 4. Step 5 is pull out the wet paint. So I've got wet paint on my brush, I've got wet paint that's been misted on my paper, and I'm going to pull out, when I say pull out, I mean literally that. From the center of the tree, I'm going to pull things out. And I'll pull some out there. And we don't want this to be perfect in any way, shape, or form. We just want it to be kind of here and there. Okay? That's it. It should be looking pretty ugly right about now. And that's okay. We want it to look ugly right about now. Then I'm going to rinse my brush off. And I'm going to do the next step, which is add a second color of paint. My second color paint is going to be the blue. Now you could do this tree in pink and yellow and green. You could do anything you want. But I like the idea of this kind of a bluish green and then the deep ultramarine blue next to it. And you're going to add a second color of paint. And I'm just going to, I could do it with my octopus brush actually. Or I could do it, I'm going to do it with a regular brush because most of you don't have an octopus brush. And I am just pulling out, in between the green stuff, I'm pulling out some more of this regular blue. Now, this begs the question, when you're painting something kind of, well, very loose like this, not a lot of structure, how do you know where to put the paint? And people ask me that all the time. Well, how did you know to put this blue right here and not put it over there instead? And you know, that just comes with experience. That just comes with painting a lot of paintings. So you begin to say, oh, I don't like the way that came out last time. I'm going to try this time. And you can't get away from experience. If all you want to do is have fun and paint snowmen, that's great too. I mean, that's fun, and that's a stress reliever, and that's creative. But if you really want to paint things that are unusual or that are true watercolor, you need to practice. It doesn't just come overnight. I've been doing this for quite a long time. All right, so I've added my second color. And again, how did I know to dab it here instead of up here, instead of over there? It's just, I look at it and I think, well, I don't have any blue, really straight blue right here. I think I'll just dab some in right there. Now notice there's a lot of paper showing. I did not, be careful that you don't enclose your whole painting, that you have a lot of paper showing through, in addition to where you put your masking fluid. So this tree, believe it or not, is about done. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to put the base in. Now I am using purple. You could use the plain blue, which is what I did on this tree. I used the blue from the tree, straight blue for the shadow. Here I used the purple, and I liked the purple. Purple is a wonderful shadow color. Use it on trees and on buildings, all kinds of things. And I'm going to use this damp brush. I'm going to use this right out of my tube. I'm just going to take a little tiny bit and put it on the tip of my brush. And you have to be very careful with this base. It can get really heavy really quickly. So here's all I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure I've got enough water, a little misty water here at the base. And I'm going to just dab this purple up under the tree, because the shadow would come from up inside the tree to the outside, right? So I'm just going to dab it. Now see how it runs? I'm not painting a shadow. Just let it run. There is your shadow. All I did was dab it to the wet paper and let it run a little bit. Now I'm going to rinse my brush off, and I'm going to pull the shadow down. And all I'm going to do is take a damp brush. I think I'll just make it less damp. Clean it off on my tissue a little bit. And I'm going to actually lay my brush at the base sideways. I'm laying my brush sideways and pull down. Pull down, pull down, pull down. There is the shadow under my tree. Now, if I decide, well, it's too boxy looking, I'm kind of thinking it's too boxy looking, I'm taking my Kleenex, I'm taking some of it off. That works. Now, all we have left to do is add the gold touches with our handy dandy Winsor Newton gold ink, which I love, 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 love. And then it's like, well, where do you put it? I'll take a look at some of these. Now, this one I didn't do with the gold ink. This one I did with my gold paint, my metallic paints. I think these are like $11.99 on Amazon. I used gold paint on this one. I did use my Winsor Newton on this one, and I really liked how it came out. So I'm going to just, shake the ink. Just make sure it's mixed. So I'm just doing this with my ink to make sure it's mixed together. And I'm going to use my regular watercolor brush. Don't be terrified. Dip it in the ink and just going ahead and lay this on top. My paint is still wet. My card is still wet because this is going to move. And I'm just going to dab. I want some at the very top of the tree because I want to have it look like it maybe has a little bit of a star up there. And I'm going to just dab the gold. Now that was too much gold right there. If I'm really fast, maybe I can get it up with my Kleenex. I can. Awesome. Okay. Dabbing gold here and there. And you notice when I do it, I kind of do it from the center out. Like you have in your mind a Christmas tree that has a shape to it, right? The limbs come out like this. So when I am doing this, I'm kind of thinking swooping. That swoop. I don't swoop the brush, but I dab it in that shape of a swoop. Okay. Now, washing the brush, and believe it or not, for some strange reason, this Winsor Newton ink actually does rinse right out of your water. It's never hurt one of my brushes yet. Don't know why, but now I'm going to take some of the yellow. We haven't touched the yellow yet. I'm going to do this yellow. And I'm going to dab some yellow in it too, just to give it more color. I'm actually going to try to take this yellow and move it between the blue and the green, wherever I see blue and green, and see if I can't merge them. Yeah, that worked. Like layering it between the blue and the yellow. See if that won't merge some colors together. This one's going to look very different than my last card. So totally different. Just layering in some yellow here and there. Rinse my brush out and we're going to splatter. So splatter, take your blue and your bluish green and your blue. Just mix them together if you want. Nice and wet, and you're going to splatter by taking the brush and hitting it against your finger onto your painting. There's your splatter. Okay, this painting is basically done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to let it dry and do some bokeh, and then we'll take off our masking fluid. So I'm going to say goodbye to you again for a few minutes until this is dry. Okay, we're back. It's all dry. And now we're going to use Mr. Clean. Remember I told you about Mr. Clean? You know, these are so darn cheap. I think you can get them at Walmart. And they come, there's a whole bunch of them in a box. I think there's like 12 or something in a box. You can share with somebody else. You can use them around your house to clean, and then use some for paint. Hold back a couple just for painting. And Mr. Clean is awesome. Just be sure that if you buy the Mr. Clean, I'm going to show you how to do bokeh a couple of different ways. Be sure that if you use the Mr. Clean that you get the original. It just says on the box, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. If it says new and improved, or now it has soap in it, or a new chemical cleaner, don't buy those, because they will change your watercolor paint. You just want the old-fashioned one. So let me talk to you just a moment about bokeh. And I'll turn this over so I've got some surface I can show it to you. So I just took a piece of, you can do this lots of different ways. I took an old piece of watercolor paper, and I just took the top of a marker, took it off, laid it down there, drew a circle around it, and took my little shears and just cut the circle out. And then, after I did that, I went to my hole punch in my office and punched some holes in it as well. Now, you could buy, you could buy something like a stencil that has holes. Anything else in the house you might have that has holes will work. But this was like free and easy and took me about 2 minutes to do. This is how I do my bokeh. So I have different sizes because it's really interesting to see different colors or different sizes of circles when you do bokeh. I'll show you a couple different ways to do it, and there are lots of ways to do it. If you go online, you'll see other people's ideas how they do it. Here's one way. You put the circle, this is going to make it look fantasy-like. It's going to make it look like a photograph that's out of focus, or that the sun hit the lens and suddenly made a splash of light. I'm going to put this one, I hope you can see this on top of my painting because it all looks kind of the same. I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to pick a place where I think I would like to have a bokeh. And I'm not going to put it where it's just completely over the paint. I'm going to put it so part of my circle's on the white paper and part of it is on the paint. Because I think that looks cool. Now, if I take just a Kleenex or paper towel and dampen it, let me show you the difference if you do it this way and with Mr. Clean. I've got a damp Kleenex. I'm going to lay it on there in that circle and just hold it there because you're trying to dampen the watercolor paint. Now, once it's been there for about 4 or 5 seconds, just go ahead and try turning it and taking away the paint, and you're going to get the paint up on your Kleenex, and you're going to take it away from the painting. So now I'm taking it away. I've got a bokeh. I've got a circle right there. Let me show you what happens if you do it with Mr. Clean, which I really like better because it does it in a much better way. Okay, I'm going to take a piece of Mr. Clean here. I'm going to make him damp and put him in my water and then just squeeze it out so it's just damp. I'm going to put my bokeh thing down there. I think I'll put it down on this side this time. And look at the difference with Mr. Clean. I'm going to put that in the circle don't even hold it in place. I mean, just start turning it, and you'll see right away the paint's coming off under the Mr. Clean thing, and then take it up. Now there's a real bokeh, right? See that white circle? And not only that, but it's kind of a circle that's not perfectly round, and I like that too. So you would do that in several places, and you'll have to go ahead and rinse it and squeeze it out, because you don't want the paint to go from one part of your painting to the other. There's another bokeh. Let's do one right here. Rinse out my Mr. Clean and squeeze him dry. All right, so now you see we're getting that look. Can you see it? Now I'm going to do some of the small ones, because it's kind of nice to have little small ones here and there. You don't want to have them all the same size. If you look at a photograph that really has been autofocused, there's all different sizes. So I'm going to do this one small. And let's put a big one halfway off the painting. You know, and if you're a little nervous about this whole thing, just take a scrap of watercolor paper, put some colors on it, just splash them around, and then try some bokeh and see if you like it or not. I happen to like it. I think it looks really cool, especially on a fantasy painting. It just makes it look more fantasy-like. Let's see if it'll pick up that ink. I'm not sure if it will. Oh, it does. Awesome. It'll even pick up the gold ink. Okay, I think this is done. Now on my painting, I can really see those line drawings that I put, the lines that I did with the pencil. I can see those big time, which I would rather not see. But I'm thinking, I've learned this over the years, it's kind of interesting. And by the way, Kleenex, just dry Kleenex at the end of your painting, just doing this can kind of make it look even more fantasy-like, kind of smushy. This is not to look like a beautiful little tree. This is to be a fantasy tree. And so I have discovered over the years that a lot of times I can go back and erase my pencil marks right through the paint. Let's just dry this real quickly. I'm going to leave the camera on. With my handy dandy hairdryer. And I'm going to actually erase these lines. Let me see if it does it. Yeah. See, especially if the lines are showing up in the white of the paper without the paint on it, you can actually erase some of these lines. Okay, so the last thing you're going to do is you're going to take off your masking fluid. So it's dry. I've got it dry now. I'm going to start rubbing with my finger, just rubbing, and you'll feel it right away. You'll feel all of that like elastic stuff underneath it. And we'll see how this looks, see if I like this tree or not. I think my first tree is still going to be my favorite. I often find that to be the case, that my first thing I try is my favorite one. Yeah, see, it's kind of a rubbery stuff. You're going to just take that off. I can feel some more right here. You can feel where it is with your fingers. All right, so there is my tree number 4, I think it is. Yeah, 4. I like this one. I don't like the fact that when I put on my masking fluid, instead of just having dots like this was, dots that looked like they were Christmas tree lights, these kind of went into a line. And that's because my masking fluid is getting real thin because I've had to clean it out so many times. But that's how you do a simple tree, and it's really very fantasy looking. It's not, it's kind of abstract looking, and I happen to like that kind of thing. I think it's kind of fun to try that. So give it a try. Try all different trees, maybe different colors. I still like this tree and this tree, I think, are my favorite trees. I think they're the best. Okay, so we've removed all of that. Let's go back just a second here. Okay, so we're back. So give this kind of thing a try. because it really does increase your inspiration. You know, you're trying to try things different that are different to you, and that you may not like how they come out. Like I don't like that last tree I did just for you. I mean, it's okay. It's all right. Not my favorite. I don't like my purple. You know, we always have things we don't like about our own work, right? I'm the same way all the time. I'm always critiquing my own work and finding all the problems with it instead of all the good things about it. But I get better and better as I keep trying more and more of this fantasy, loose kind of work. So next up, I think we're going to do poinsettias, because another Christmas one I wanted to do in December didn't get to. But I want to do that next because it's a lot like the cone flowers. If you remember the cone flowers we did way back when, wet on wet, it's an easier process than doing something like this. So I'm taking you back now to easier stuff if this drove you crazy. And then we're going to do a Valentine, a really fun little Valentine one, kind of along the lines of the snowman. Something frivolous and fun. You can make a card out of it. I hope some of you are making cards. I talked to you before about the Strathmore cards before, the ones I use. I buy them 100 in a box. I had a friend lately say she was going to make all her own Christmas cards next year. That was my first big card project about 6 or 8 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, where I made over 50 Christmas cards, and I painted every one of them by hand, and I had like 8 different kinds, 8 different drawings that I decided I wanted to use, and it was so much fun. So for Valentine's, I'm thinking, if I can get this thing out to you the first week in February, you could make a Valentine card for someone, and don't forget to sign your work. So that they know that you did something special for them. And I hope that you're well. Seems like everybody I know has been sick for the holidays. And if you've been down for the holidays, then take good care of yourself, not to get anything else. And be sure to be kind to yourself and to all the people around you. If you're like me, life gets to be pretty, just too much to do and not enough time to do it. And wishing I was better than I am every single day. But I'm here to tell you that you're doing very well. You're doing the best you can. Be kind to someone today. Pick someone to serve. And maybe today the person you serve is yourself. And tell yourself that you're okay, that you're going to make it through life, through whatever you're living through, because we're all living through something. And maybe use art, use painting as a way to relieve some of that stress. I hope I'm not adding to your stress. That would be terrible. So, thanks for joining me today, and I will see you next time.